G'day everyone, and thanks so much for tuning in. We're really excited. Jason Grant here.
Hello everyone.
Part of the Adobe team, as well as myself, Jamie Ragen. We're really excited to spend the next hour or so with you guys and talk a little bit about XD. But before we get into showing some of the product and getting into XD itself, I wanted to just reflect a little bit on Adobe's trust and responsibility. You know, in 1982 is when Adobe was first born, and as an employee now for many years, trust and responsibility is something that Adobe takes very seriously, and we're reminded of it every single day. So we're very conscious about the trust that our customers put in us, as well as the responsibility that it is for us to be able to onboard our customers as well globally, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, we've got some great stuff to show you guys today around that, as well as some of the tools that we are now deploying out there inside of our environment. You know, around responsibly designing for all types of people that view our content. Adobe has taken this very seriously, especially around accessibility and colorblindness and things like that. So we'll dig into that a little bit further as we get into the product. But today we're going to spend a fair bit of time talking about XD, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So our favorite at the moment, right? So of course we love all of Adobe's products and workflows. But XD seems to be the thing that we spend most of our time talking with customers about, and there's a genuine excitement now, right?
Yeah, it has come so far in such a short time, almost. I know the whole industry itself, and this is why we're doing these sort of talks and days like this, is because the industry is just going from strength to strength now, and it's just evolved so much. So it's really good to reflect back on that and then just take a look and see where we are as XD and Adobe. And see where that's going forward.
Yeah, sure. So today, can we go forward one?
Yep.
Okay. Next one. Sorry. You know, our teams. This is a group of Adobe team members over in San Jose. Probably the group of people that founded the XD product all got together in a room and were debating, whether Adobe has a tool or whether we could retrofit a tool like Photoshop to be able to do UX UI design. The decision was made, of course, for us to build something brand new. And
really good.
We don't take this very lightly, right? Decision. To start from scratch and build something from scratch takes a pretty dedicated team. And let me tell you, after spending a fair bit of time with that team this year, we both got lucky enough to spend some time with that team. These guys take the responsibility of building a tool like XD very, very seriously. And when we talk about things like the mantra of design at the speed of thought, this team absolutely, and we take it very seriously. In fact, every decision that is made around the product, the responsibility of keeping that mantra for this platform is something we take very seriously, and we want our customers to be able to trust that moving forward in the future, we take the responsibility very seriously to make sure that it's available for everybody and it's fast.
Yeah, and I think they're also very transparent how they approach it. So we're going to show a bit later on some links that will actually that you can actually follow them on Twitter or so forth. So it's really exciting. It's amazing. Like they will release ideas that they have and just sort of give it a street test, so to speak, and then take it from there. But, amazing team.
Yeah, agreed. So Andrew Shorten, who's he's the head product manager for XD. He is very responsive on Twitter. So we'll give you the links for that when we wrap up a bit later on. We are constantly looking to engage with our users of our products, and we're constantly looking to build out our products. So we actually use XD to build out and test new parts of our products at the moment, don't we, right?
Use XD to create XD.
That's right. That's right. And also do updates to Photoshop and InDesign and Illustrator, and do the user testing around that as well.
Yeah.
So it doesn't just have to be websites and apps. You can use XD for a number of different things. We'll see some examples of that a bit later.
Yeah. So I'll whip up a couple, but let's move it along.
So here's a bit of a list.
It is a good list
of things that people are using XD for today, right? Wireframing, obviously. We're going to dig into that, probably spend a good 30 minutes on wireframing, and all of the different things around wireframing. Designing, obviously.
Yep.
Prototyping. Presentation tools, okay? We're using Microsoft PowerPoint at the moment, but you can use XD for presentation tools.
That's right.
Collaborating between individuals and developers, and also sharing your ideas online in a hosted environment that's hosted by Adobe. Design systems. This is the This is the hottest thing. Every door we walk into at the moment, everybody's building out design systems. All of our biggest customers, right?
Yeah, there is a huge focus worldwide. I mean, from enterprise clients, large clients, just how they're approaching design systems nowadays. It's really exciting. This is how you can do it at scale, how you can do it cheap, how you can do it quick. We've tried different things. I think the whole XD team, Andrew Shorten and so forth, they reached out to the design community and said, what do you actually look for when you're designing when you are creating a design system? So that's really exciting, I think.
Yeah, so I've got our first question online, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to answer this as throughout the cast here today. 2 to 3 main ways XD is better than our competition. Okay, besides the obvious things, is it worth the switch if a company has already invested in Sketch? Now, first thing I'll say here is that there's probably a reason that your business decided to move to Sketch. You'll never hear anybody at Adobe say anything bad about Sketch. It's a great tool, and you guys moved to Sketch for a reason, and you started using that tool. And if that works for you, then you probably should continue to use those tools, right? However, what we would like you to do is to investigate XD next time you've got a project that you think is appropriate. Now, hopefully today we're going to show you some reasons that are differentiators from all of our competition, and competition's fantastic. In fact, we embrace it and we welcome it, right?
100%. I think one thing that I've noticed too is, so XD has taken its time to get to this point where it's at now, and it's at really good space at the moment. It will only get better as well. The reason why is because they spent so much time getting the base of the product right. So now on top of that, now we're adding in certain functionalities, as well as looking at how design systems are taken into account. And now you can only build on top of that when you have a good base. So that's why it is always good to come back, have a look at XD, see if it does work for your work environment and your company. It is available there, so you can actually try it out as well. So yeah, it's amazing.
I think that's a really good point, mate. We're encouraging our customers to come back regularly because we're on a huge ramp up at the moment. In fact, we're doing monthly product updates at the moment, and weekly sprint updates as well. So bug fixes weekly as well as monthly product updates. And these aren't small product updates; they're quite big. So keep checking in. We're going to put some stuff up a bit later on around user voice. If you've got something that you want to see inside of our product, please jump on user voice. We'll pop that up a little bit later so that you can go on there.
Yes,
vote things up that you like. Be active in there and vocal. We really want to hear your honest feedback. I think this is it's a great forum, isn't it?
It's democracy at its best.
Yes, that's right. and our product teams actually are constantly looking at that. I mean, we're on the Slack channels, aren't we? Yes. And you see that if you've got something that you think should be in the product, get it in there, because these guys are constantly discussing, prioritizing, moving things up based on popularity. This happens on a daily basis, right?
Yeah. So the product managers actually start through there. So through the Slack channels or the user voice, and have a look at what the requests are coming through, and then they actually, okay, let's prioritize this and see what we can actually do about it. So, which is really great. It's, as we mentioned before, a very transparent approach to creating a product that, you know, is growing, or the industry itself is growing as it is to the point it is today.
Yeah. Awesome stuff. So keep those questions coming. I'm gonna keep an eye on them as they come in. If we're going to cover something as part of a demo, I'll point that out at the time the question comes through. But if you want to see something in particular between the two of us, we should be able to show and have a good discussion about it. But yeah. All right, so let's go to the next thing.
So today, I think we've sort of broken it into three main aspects. So we're going to look at the design aspect of design within Sketch. Excuse me, that was a big faux pas. In XD. So again, as I mentioned before, the basis of it is set up very strongly. So design at the speed of thought is the mantra they take with XD, and how you can build quickly assets in XD through that. Next, we're going to have a look at how you collaborate. So again, collaboration, how do you share this with your stakeholders or your clients or other designers? How do you approach
Developers.
that? Developers, don't forget the developers. And yeah, see how we can do that easily and quickly as well. Last, we sort of highlighted was that design system. So design at scale. How can you do that across a large organization? What does that look like? And yeah, we'll show you a few things that we're approaching with that and how that can actually easily be done.
Awesome. Let's get started.
Yeah, absolutely. So, oops, we're a bit in the way.
Hang on, I'll hop out of the way.
Design tooling. There we go. Design tooling. So when it comes to design tooling, so design at the speed of thought, basically you want all the tools to be out of the way when you're actually doing it. So when you're working on the artboard, you just want it to be not only intuitive on how you're approaching it, like again with smart guides, how padding shows up, sizing and all that should come just naturally. So this is where design tooling comes into approach, and it is really good how we approach that. Next, so we do have a lot of legacy approaches to how we have been doing design. So instead of actually just simply putting out a function because it's a feature request, let's reimagine how that is approached, and that's where tools such as the Repeat Grid, which has been out since it first did launch, that one has a look at how we can do that differently.
Yeah, when we get into the demo, just things like how guides are represented, how measurements are displayed. The team is agonised over how to display those and layers as well. You know, layers has been around inside of Photoshop for many years. In fact, I sort of remember back in the day when I had hair, layers were a thing, right? That was part of the launch in Photoshop. But you know, what's the modern way of doing layers? We'll have a bit more of a look when we get into demo mode a bit later.
Yeah, very soon. And on top of that, again, design always evolves. So, you know, it is never a full stop approach. You have to always keep it, you know, evolving, I suppose is the best way. And this is where design and within XD actually works at its best, I think. So this is a few examples we'll show a bit later on. So when it comes to the design aspect, so we're going to go through a lot of these examples and demonstrate this.
Yep.
So just to highlight a few main ones that have come through. So yeah, you can easily import your documents into XD. So anything from Sketch to Photoshop to Illustrator, and it preserves everything from mask, to your text and additional stuff like that. So that is great, and I'm going to show you how quickly I can do that. Working with vector tools, Adobe have always worked with vector tools, so we've always done that well, and that's something that you can do on a day-to-day basis. On top of that, if you do prefer working in Illustrator for that, you can always import that in as well.
Sure.
Components with override support, huge thing coming through. It used to be called symbols. We're not allowed to use symbols. I think I owe someone $5 for saying that word. But yeah, now it's called components with overrides. And we'll show you a couple of examples, and then we'll, depending on time, we'll try to dive a bit deeper through that.
Yeah, I think this is probably the most exciting part, and hopefully we've got some time to dig a bit deeper. I know that whenever I'm out there in front of customers talking to them about their design system, components is the thing where people really want to spend time.
That's right.
They really want build out ways to take full advantage of components. So we will spend a bit of time on that today.
Yeah, awesome. Next, responsive resize. Again, everyone has resizing. How do you do it automatically? That's one of the approaches that they've tried to tackle through XD. So responsive resize is really good. On top of that, we've got the repeat grid. I've talked about that quickly, and I think that'd be one of the first examples I'll get into. And then last but not least, the plugin community around XD has grown exponentially over the last year, and that's only getting better and better.
Yeah, there's some great plugins. I'd encourage everyone to go and have a look. There's some really fun things in there, as well as some serious ones, which we'll discover a few of those that we've got time for. I'm sort of in the habit of downloading the plugin now, so I just go in there and all the new ones that come in on, and then go and have a bit of a play. There's some great workflow ones in there as well. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so there's some really useful ones that will definitely bring time. And a good thing to just highlight before we move on from plugins, the API and the operating system, they are separated. So it doesn't mean that if one updates, it's not going to crash the other.
Yep.
So always good to highlight that. So next aspects to it is the prototyping aspect. So I believe one of the questions was what was different between us and Sketch. Yeah, we can easily jump between prototyping and do some advanced prototyping quite quickly. It's a huge time saver. When you're designing, you just want to have a look at it. You know, you want to go back and forth quickly. So I'll show you that. Show you my favorite keyboard shortcut on how to do that quickly. So just in case you know why I'm jumping around, it'll be because of my quick cut. Short keys. Next,
we're going to do some tips and tricks, right, as well, right?
Yeah.
So some quick keys and tips and tricks for everybody.
On top of that, we're going to go through overlays, fixed elements. I always call them sticky elements, but don't know if that's an old term. Time transitions, so how you can set up basically a walkthrough almost of how your website does work.
Yep.
Auto animate, really great. I think this is amazing.
Oh my God, I love this. It's so much fun. And we're going to show you guys where to go in and download a full auto animate thing that you can see what the best practices are on building that as well. But it's certainly something that I've spent a lot of countless hours doing absolutely useless things just to see whether it works or not. It's pretty good fun.
The concept behind it is really simple, so we'll go through that a bit later. But yeah, it's amazing fun. Voice prototyping, again, one of the only applications that does voice prototyping, which is really good, especially, you know, when we're talking about trust and responsibility. You know, voice prototyping is something that has grown, definitely. I know it was a buzzword at the start of the year. Yeah. I think it's only going to get stronger. So, you know, the amount of devices out there, it's amazing.
Yeah, again, I know that a lot of our bigger customers, our enterprise customers, are super excited about designing for voice. We did a big session on design for voice at Symposium this year. You know, some great questions as well. People will just want to know how to get going. Hopefully today we can get you guys started. Again, it's one of those ones where, you know, you can just get in and start doing some of the coolest things in there around designing for voice. It's great fun.
Absolutely. You can have a conversation with the computer. Next, game board and keyboard. So again, this is like when you touched on, you know, you're designing for screens. Screens could be anything. So anything from a gaming device, you know, that's where game and keyboard support comes into play. After that, we've got the preview on device. So preview on device is how do you preview it quickly? How do you plug it in? You know, you can plug it in and then change on the fly. Additionally, you can also plug it in, detach that, and then take it on the street and do some guerrilla testing. So, you know, there's great ways on that. Last but definitely not least, develop the publish aspects, so for clients as well as developers. So we'll show you how that is and what that actually looks like as well. So just before we do jump in this, so you can actually jump on to Behance. There's a lot of wonderful materials and assets available to have a look at. So jump on Behance.
It's my cup of coffee every morning.
Wow.
Every day I just jump on when I'm having my coffee and go on and have a look at all the new ones that have been updated every day. There's literally thousands in there now on Behance, and I spend a fair bit of time in there doing that. So
one of the good things too, I find with Behance is that you can actually have a look at how other people are doing animations, little things like that, and it's just it's mind blowing.
Yeah.
Like, there's some really talented people out there.
Yeah, there's one that Nike did actually. Go in and have a bit of a look in there. There's a fantastic one in there that Nike did. So go onto that link and have a look. We'll make sure that it gets onto the share on there.
Okay. So we're gonna jump over to the product. We've waffled on for way too much. So let's get hands deep. And again, if you do have questions, as Jamie mentioned, he will either highlight that we're going to come to a bit later on, or we can, address that straight away. So,
And don't forget, we've happy to take questions, change direction, show you guys anything you want to be able to see in the demo environment, and get active in the chat. I know that people are out there getting active, and a big shout out to Steve and to Festus as well. Some of the most vocal and loyal viewers. So thanks for joining, everyone.
Absolutely. Okay.
All right.
So jumping over to another screen.
Oh, you got to... No. Go back to PowerPoint and quit.
I got to quit. Okay. PowerPoint.
Now flick over. That's it.
Okay. There you go. So before we get into it too much, just a quick introduction to XD as a whole. Again, interface is quite minimal, I think. Overall, when you approach XD, it's a lot less. As we mentioned before, the tools have taken the back seat, so everything is more responsive, and it lets you design at speed. So I think this is really great. You have what we have right in the middle is the Infinity Artboard. And I believe they have challenged people to try to break it. So, we do have files with 1,500 odd artboards. So, I don't know if you ever want, it'll be
oh my God,
a
1,500
manager's
artboards.
Nightmare. But it is
scary.
something, you can put it out there. So you can see straight up, we've got our home screen. Here you can access cloud documents. So cloud documents is something that's relatively new that we approached, and there's going to be some really exciting stuff coming through in cloud document space.
Yeah.
So that's really great. Here again, you can start your basics. If you haven't tried it before, it's always good to have a go at that tutorial. What's new, learn and support. That's where the user voice is also. Provide feedback. So as we mentioned before, very transparent how they approach this. Provide your feedback and add to that as you go along. So here you can see straight away we've got the design aspect as well as the prototype. So we can just move between design and prototype. My quick key is Control Tab. So Control Tab on a Mac will easily move back and forth.
And a PC, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it works both Mac and PC. So if you're design environments in PC, it works the same.
Yeah. And then my other one would be, if I wanted to, is Command Return would open up the screen. So them two, I will
the prototype.
Yeah. So you can actually see it and then work on it further. Very helpful.
Yep.
So when you're in design mode, always good to notice the tools here on your left side. Again, what happens, whatever tool you're in, it will reflect that over the right. So if I'm working in text, it will show me my text options on the right. If I'm working with boxes and artboards, it'll do the same over there.
So single key indicators, the same. So T for text.
V.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
the V tool.
Yeah, V. It's always good to remember that one. But yeah, so really great. If you ever wonder what it's like between prototype and design, you'll notice that you have less tools. So it's always a good indicator. Some people can get confused, but you get used to it quite quickly.
Yeah, so that toolbar on the left-hand side just minimizes to the bare minimum, which is basically the selection tool, so you can wireframe.
That's right.
And zoom in and out. If you're using you're using a trackpad here, so you're just pinching and zooming.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah, and you can easily move around. As I said, pinch to move, 2 fingers to scroll across.
Yeah.
Really helpful. You can move around this.
So as you're pinching and zooming, one of the neat things here is that regardless of the amount of artboards you've got, super responsive, right?
Yeah.
This is the the core of the XD team's daily fight, right? They want to keep the product responsive, and every day they're trying to make it even more responsive, but also when we're adding new features in, it doesn't get bloated and slow, right?
Yeah. So they evaluate that. Again, don't jeopardize that speed. So that way, when a new feature comes in, it is just as quick. And you can sort of see, if you can see when I do zoom out or zoom in, you can see how it slowly builds itself.
Yeah.
So really helpful. Right down the bottom left, so you got your first one here, assets. So we're going to come to this, then assets is great.
Let's come back to assets because we're going to spend a fair bit of time in there.
Yeah. And then we've got here our layers. So again, I'll touch on layers a bit more when we actually go into the animation aspects. And last but not least, and plugins. So here you can see what plugins I have. Similar approach to you, Jamie, that I will click and open it.
I just download everything just to have a play, right?
So good.
There's some awesome ones, yeah.
Over on the far right, up the top, you can see the first little thing here. I can invite someone to edit. So I can actually upload my document. As I mentioned, and I've sort of given a little sneaky talk about, there will be great things coming in this space, so we can maybe.
So in November we have our biggest design conference in LA. We're both lucky enough to go. We're bubbling with excitement, and it's online as well, right? So a lot of the sessions are going to be streamed online. So just go on and go to max.adobe.com and register your interest for the online version if you're not going. If you are going, keep an eye out for us. We're excited to be going. I will say though that there is some huge updates coming in XD and some really exciting stuff. So hopefully everyone out there tunes in, has a look. But most of all, just do the update sometime Australian time frame. At the beginning of November, the 5th or 6th of November, around that time frame, there'll be an update. Go and have a look. And then just go to the Let's XD page, and Jason can open that up a bit later on, and you can see what the new things are in there. So, it's going to be great fun.
All right. So, up on the top right here, we can plug in the device as we mentioned before. The play button or the command return, depending on how you want to do it. That's where that will come in, and you can preview your device. After that, you've got the share aspect. So here I can invite to edit, as I sort of did before, share for review, all this stuff we're going to actually cover it towards the end. So share for development, how you manage your links, or you can create a video. So
correct.
Wonderful option.
Pretty important, the video side, if you user testing or you want to do a little user test on the side. So it just plugs the video onto your downloads area. So
okay. So the first part that we just quickly want to show is the import. So here I do have a sketch file, and I want to just quickly drag that over. So all you have to do is drag it onto the icon, open it up, and it will open and respect everything about that file. So it's great if you wanted to possibly, you have a file. A lot of people have started design in other programs, so whether it be Sketch or Photoshop or Illustrator, you can pull all these over and prototype it up. Prototyping is really important because then that shows how the design intentions are supposed to be.
So if you're a Sketch user, one of the use cases that you may want to do this for is if you were designing for voice, right? If you were doing an Amazon Echo show, which we're going to show a little bit later on, prototype, and you wanted to actually do that prototype for voice, you might want to drop that into XD, and go from there. So
like again, you can open that up, click through, you build out a quick prototype. So again, three screens in 3 seconds, but you can get the idea of it. So have a look at this. As I mentioned before, it does respect. You can see it respects all the layering that has happened through that file. So really good way to start having a go.
Photoshop, Illustrator, and Sketch files. Just drag them on there and they open up and respect all the layers, right?
That's right.
Yep.
So next, let's jump back into XD. And I want to just basically go through here quickly. And I'm going to show you the repeat grid. how you can approach the repeat grid with this. So again, if you have a look at this document itself, you can actually see when people are designing a lot of UX and UI interfaces, there's a lot of repeatable elements.
Yeah.
So how do you do it quickly? That's where the repeat grid comes in. So here I have my first object selected. It has text, it has a background image, you know, various elements. Once you've designed one, you go over to the top right and you can hit the repeat grid. You know, before I did do this, I would do copy paste. So I would paste that, you know, or option drag and so forth, you know, and then if I...
You can still do that.
You can.
Yeah.
If I had something wrong, you know, delete, paste.
Yep.
So here, repeat grid, I can come in, I hit that. It will open up some handles. I can move this out quite quickly. I can still go into my padding. I can change that. I can move it up and down. So again, you have both options, depending on what's necessary.
Yeah.
The beauty about that is now you can actually go in. I can still go in and say maybe change certain elements. So if I want to make the text bigger, you can see it can reflect across all of it. Even when you're looking at redesign in certain aspects. So if I wanted to, oops, that's a bit random. If I wanted to maybe move the you know, certain elements within that, I can actually do that quite quickly. So repeat grid, super helpful. The best part is that you can also pull in assets quite quickly onto it. So this is where it's a simple drag and drop. So if I have my repeat grid open, I can drag this across and then pull this in.
So as you're dragging and dropping that, let me just give everyone a bit of a tip when you're doing this. Make sure you put them in order that you want them to appear.
Yes.
Okay. They need to be in alphabetical order. So you can see Jason's put in there 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3. They will appear in the order that they are that they're in the list there. So
yeah. You can still go individually and drop one in, just say, you know, if you had to change one. But yeah, that's definitely a good tip to move forward with. Same works with text as well. So when you have text files, so, you know, if I had, you know, basic text, I can easily drag this onto a text element and then it will reflect across all options available. So text, images, do it quickly. I can still come in and change what I want, certain elements, move it around, you know, and see what works and what doesn't work. So I think that's super helpful.
Yeah.
It's a great way to start.
Yeah, and while we're here, I know that we weren't going to show a full-blown demo of this, but there's a plugin for Google Sheets as well. So if you've got a live document that you're working on, someone might be working on the text, and you're working on the design. You want to put placeholder text in. You link that to the Google spreadsheet, and it will go through and update those as the document's being updated by your colleagues.
Yeah,
so a nice little workflow tip, right?
Yeah, 100%. And that happens a lot. A lot of people are doing the design, and some people's building the content. So that's
one of my favorites. Like from a workflow perspective, there's huge workflow gains in there.
Yeah. So next, I want to go through and. As you can sort of see, I'm skipping through this. I'm going to look at how we approach our responsive resize. So a lot of people have it, and it can be quite a manual process. If you want, you can still do that. So if I have an object like this sort of selected, you can see over on the right. So I can turn this on or off if I wanted. So here I have automatic. So when I do drag this out, you can see that it will respect how it should work, and then replicate that through that. If I wanted to get really granular and say, okay, well, I want, say, maybe.
So that button didn't really do what I thought it was going to do.
No.
Can you just turn it off? Let's turn it off and drag it out.
So here, what happened was it was aligned to the bottom.
So someone has manually gone in and pinned that to the left-hand side, so it's actually honoured what the designer's asked to do, right?
Yes, that's right. So I can still go back. Now I've turned it off. And the button will come across. So again, you can get granular, or you can let it try and replicate how it normally works. So again, they've re-looked at how these tools are built, and then shown how it should come through. So that's responsive. And then now,
I'd encourage everyone to go in and have a go. Now, I will say that responsive resize works best, obviously, when things are grouped together.
Yeah.
You can select a whole heap of things, but it will honor the groups in order. So if you have maybe a button that has, and then you've put that in that is grouped, text, vector, and outline, and then you've put that into a design as part of a group, and then there's an image and some text, and they might be grouped. So it will honor those groups, right?
That's right.
Okay, so just a tip here is when you are building out things that you might want to responsive resize or auto resize, absolutely, have a think about how you're grouping those elements together.
Yes.
Okay.
That's true. So jumping from that, I'm going to jump into some of the components and also even how you find and add assets into your asset panel.
So before you jump into that, don't forget, guys, if you've got questions, especially around this components, we'd love to hear your questions so that we can jump in and answer them. This seems to be the hot topic for everyone.
Yeah.
Components and grouping components together, and there's some exciting new stuff coming as well. So.
True. So when it comes down to assets, so what it will do is from your color aspects, it will add them into your assets. You can use that. Very important, okay? Because if you do have a color, it changes throughout. So you can see here, I've right-clicked, reveal color in assets. I can hit that and it will show it over on the left. If I didn't have this one in, all I would have to do is simply hit the plus and it will add in as well. You can do this after the fact. So the way I like to approach it is if you're going to build out a website, you're going to build out all the fonts, all the colors, build all the elements in that first homepage. Then you're going to add them in. Then as you build other websites, you can always go back and change.
Yeah, right.
So this is really good. So if I wanted to change this, I can highlight this on the dashboard itself, or I can hit edit and I can actually change this, and you can see it will reflect straight away. So that one is quite good.
So another thing here to note is that if you do that,
yes,
you are going to be changing it to every single version of that color that's been used across the board, right?
That's right, yeah.
Did you hit the quit button?
No, not exactly. But that's all right. So these things do happen. So we can show you how quickly this will boot up now. But yeah, let's get back into this.
Feature.
That was because we were doing too much talking, if you ask me.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Okay, so let me get back into it. So I've got my design system, which I had before, and my design assets. So with the design system, and this is something that a lot of people do.
So while you're opening that up, just while you're opening up, I just want to point out something. Of course, Jason's using his file system on his desktop here, right?
I am local.
Yeah, but if you wanted to, you can upload these to the cloud and use it as a cloud document as well, right?
Yeah. So and it's quite simple. Normally, when it does. When a new document is created, it will naturally go to the cloud option first. You can either save it locally or in the cloud. Great thing if you're doing design assets, you want to save them in the cloud.
Yeah.
So you can share that. Now let's see if I got my other document back, which is good. Just went for a little walkabout. So as we were back into components, so I did show you quickly how colors can be changed and edited. Simply here, you can actually see here, I've got the little green, so we can see here, we've got the little green corner on that. What that means is that this component is a master component. So when we talk around overrides, that's where it all generates from this one.
So that little green diamond, that there indicates that this is the master component. This is a really important concept here. So I want to give everyone a little tip while we're here talking about the little green diamond. What you can do after you've created, can you just create a new component for me? Just, it doesn't matter what it is, just find something.
My design.
Let's do this beautiful.
My design skills.
Wow, here we go.
Here we go.
So live.
I am going
design skills.
There we go.
Excellent.
Bit Ruby.
Yep. Okay, so we're going to put some text in here. And of course, we could use a asset in here. Yeah, let's not get too worried. Let's not get too worried about it. I know you're worried about it.
I'm being judged by
there's a
someone
whole
out there.
heap of whole heap of designers that are going, that's the wrong padding. Anyway, so let's group those two together. You'll notice just before you make a component out of that, you'll notice that it's got blue outline around the outside. Just basically means it's a basic element, right?
Yeah.
So that blue outline tells us that it's not linked to anything. It's not responsive resize. It's not a component. Okay. It's just something that we've drawn and grouped together.
Yeah.
Okay. When we create a group out of it, so just go down and create a group out of that for me. So that and the button text.
Yep.
Yep. So double click it. Right. You'll see, well, you might not be able to see this. So now go back, just double click it. You'll see around the outside, it's got like a halo, thicker blue line. That's indicating that that is an entire group.
So I move it over to the right.
Yeah, you can see
it a little bit better.
Yeah, so you can see that. What's important about this is that, as I said before, grouping things together and then creating components is a very important concept to have. Okay, so let's create a component. So zoom back out and let's create a component. It's really complicated to create a component.
It is. Takes a lot. So here we go over to components and we hit plus.
Yeah. Now there is a quick key. So if you hover over that, you'll learn about your quick key. Everyone knows quick keys. And you'll see that's turned into green and it's got the little green diamond, right? Now,
quick key.
I want you to delete that button off the page. Just delete it. Okay. Now, if I want that back, I can come in and drag that component out. It doesn't have the little, so it's not the master.
No.
All right. So just understanding the difference between the master component and then a version of that component is something that's really important.
Yeah, and that's true. So also, like you can see with this option up here, we actually have a component within a component. So you can go as deep. This is when design systems get really complicated and they can actually go, this is where people get really smart and do some wonderful things with. But yeah, you can easily build components within components. As Jamie was mentioning before, I can always right click. I can reveal the component in the assets or I can unbreak it. So you can actually do, again, it depends on what is relevant for your workflow. I can option drag this down and it will do the same as when I just added it and brought it across as well. So this is when you can actually start to get quite deep. Now I've made a new sort of design and I might want to change this one and sort of change some of my copy. Button. And I may even go in and if I hit my V, go in and just slightly, let's just look at the different size of that. Again, I can do this as till my heart comes, to my heart's content. But, if you have changed certain elements, it still goes back to your first one and it can reflect that change overall. So
that's right. So it honors anything that hasn't changed. But if you have changed it, you've made an intentional decision to change that locally in a specific area, it will also honor that as well.
Yeah. And here,
now, what happens if I want to go back? How do I go back?
Good question. Again, simple right click. Then you can actually, I want to go back to here. So you can always revert back to your master component. So here, I can actually go back to what it originally was. If I've gone too far back, this is when creative directors would come in and actually go in and go, hey, I wasn't happy with that. So you can actually do that quite easily. So great way to do it. Great way to, share this out. And we're going to go in a bit later and show you how you can actually share amongst that.
Yep. Okay, so there's a couple of questions in here just while you're transitioning to the next part. One of the questions in here is collaboration for copywriters working on a project. It's an excellent question. We've got lots of customers that are doing this. First of all, I mentioned the plugin, the Google Sheets plugin. Absolutely, this is something that you should consider. You might not use Google Sheets, but a simple CSV document is also something that you can use and import as well, and just do the update on that CSV document. So I would suggest that you have a look at doing that. The other one is that I have noticed that customers will do is they will just start a brand new document in XD, and they'll bring the copy into that document, but separate to the one they're working on. Put text into that document, and then create a component, and then bring that into the actual working document. That way, if they want to update the text, they can go back and update the text on the original XD document. But there's a couple of options for you there.
Yeah, and a new one coming in November too. That would also with
Yes. So I wasn't going to go too much into that, but I will suggest absolutely that you should check back in after our November release for sure. And another question around XD for apps or on the web. So it's a great question. At the moment, the most performant way that we can control XD is by having a combination of both. We have the idea of web documents, so documents that are saved in the Adobe Cloud, but are surfaced inside of the app for design and prototype. But for everything else, we actually are using web apps for that. For design, for our collaboration with our end users, with inviting people to come and edit the same document. This is all done in a web space.
Yes.
Okay, so you can expect more in that web space in the coming months, but at the moment, having the app locally on the device works from a speed point of view better. But it's something we're definitely working on.
Yes, I think there's a lot of interesting things happening in that space, and it will get exciting moving forward.
Yeah.
So now we're going to jump over to prototyping. So prototyping, again, my short key, but here you can see I've selected all my options here, and you can actually see how much prototyping has been built out. So this, I have seen some absolutely insane options around this. I think this is quite mild.
It is mild.
But yeah, it is amazing how far that can go. So
yeah, but that's just because you've got all of the artboards selected, right?
Yes, that's right.
So if you just select one artboard, just select one, it just shows you those ones,
that's
right?
Right. Yeah. So here I have one. You can see over on the right side, it actually shows what is happening here. So with this one, it is a quite a simple option here. I have my trigger. So we have the different options available, and I will work through this and show you how that works. So you have the tap, simple tap. We do have drag, so if you have carousels or what's not, you can drag that across. Timing animations, I'll give you an example of how that works. Voice, I will talk to it, and it will, if it's nice, talk back to me, and keys and gayboard. So once you have set what the trigger is, what starts the motion, then you actually have to tell it what action it wants to take. So whether it's a basic transition or the auto animate, which is definitely our favorite, and I'll show you how that works. Overlays, how do you do that? And I'm going to do that in a sec. Speech playback, so where it does talk back to you, and then simply the previous artboard. So this is where things have done, and it has been really good on how they actually approach this, so which is great. So I am going to build a simple overlay from this one. So I'm going to just jump back quickly to my design. So what I will do is I'm going to create a simple menu item through here on this one, and also a search option. So what we do here is once we have that, I will start with my search option, zoom back out. I am going to just drag this over to a keyboard. As I do that, I'm going to set my trigger. Back. So my trigger, to tap, and my action will be the overlay. So when that does come through, you can actually see it has the box that actually shows where it's going to position itself. So it will default to the middle.
And the wire is that big chunky dotted line, right?
That's right, as opposed to just the simple blue one. So you can actually see the difference in that. So I will drag that down, and then I will go over to, we have different actions.
This is where it'll finish, right?
That's right, yeah. It will start and finish from there. And it does that automatically as well. So it will tap itself on and off. So if I hit slide up, which is normally what happens, you do have different ease in options. Bounce,
absolutely have a play with this for different interactions. You know, the bounce one is fun, probably not appropriate for this, but so easy in, easy out is another one that people use quite a lot.
And the default duration is the 0.3, so it makes it simple, which is what most people would do it to. So I will grab over here. Let's get our artboard. So all it is doing is it's linking to another artboard. So that's important to know. You need to create an artboard that will be an overlay item.
But obviously with this menu item here for your menu item, what you really want to do is you only want to build it once, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So this is the reasoning behind that. It's also the keyboard. You only really want to use that once, or build it once, and then have it apply to multiple different artboards. So.
Yeah, and I'll quickly show you. So let me remove some of the bottom ones. So I have two examples here. So I have set up my overlays. So my first one is my menu, which comes in, comes off. Okay, so that has my click-throughs. So you can see here with this, we have certain click-throughs throughout. And then I also have back here, so you can have the simple
your search option
for the search option.
Yeah.
So, excuse me. So we've set this up once. As Jamie was alluding to, you only want to do this once, all right? So if I've set this up, I would want to copy this.
In prototype mode.
Yep. Copy this, and
so the trick here is that Jason almost fell into. Then you might want to have a glass of water or something, mate, so that you're not dry. You've been talking a bit, but the trick here is that when you're copying and pasting in prototype mode, it's actually copying and pasting the things that you've just done, the interaction that you've just done, right?
So here I can paste, as Jamie showed before. I copy. Now I select my two different artboards that I want to paste to, and that will come through as well. So if you had
1,000 artboards,
1,000 artboards, yes, that's how you would like to do it.
Or if you're enjoying the process of going and wiring things up
one at a time,
you could go and do that.
That's right.
Or you can just copy and paste.
Yeah. So a lot of things too, they actually do have noticed too, is that they actually like to how people actually do work in this on a day-to-day. Like simple copy and pasting is what most people do. Designers copy and paste all the time from one document to the next.
So while we're here, there's a great question here about mobile preview, being able to preview on a mobile, as it was answered by Kadeem on the chat. Guys, just download the app on your phone, on your iPad. Doesn't matter, Apple, Google, we don't discriminate. And you can either tether it. So Jason mentioned before, you can either tether it with to your computer, or you can save it and then open it up once you've logged in. So you have to log in with your Adobe ID, and away you go.
That's right. Yeah. So it just helps you link the accounts together.
And one of the cool things as well is a lot of people have like a little easel stand set up on their desk. Right, so that as they're designing, they can actually see the design change live on the screen as they're doing it. And, a lot of this stuff is tactile response.
That's true.
So you want to be able to test, from someone like me with big, giant, thick, fat thumbs, I might want to be able to go in and test that. So yeah, absolutely. Download the app and go from there.
Awesome.
And thanks to everyone that's answering questions online too. We really appreciate it.
So next, we've talked about this quite a bit, is the auto animate aspect.
My God, I love it.
I'm going to give you a quick example, and then we can deconstruct what sort of happened here. So here, I'm going to select my card here, and basically what I want to happen is when I click that, it's going to reflect what is on the right side. So where you see the exploration, I want that to come through here. So all I want to do is drag it over to my new card. You can see it remembers the last interaction you did, which is good because again, people will do it in groups. So we don't want that. For this instance, we want auto animate. Now I am going to slow this down so that way people can actually see what is happening here. So it's 3 seconds. So basically you click it, 3 seconds will go through and it will evolve into the exploration sort of icon.
So let's do it, and then we'll talk through exactly how this is why this is done like this, right? And how it's done.
So you can see that. Actually, I should click it back. So I want to click this one back. So we're going to go back to the old artboard. Let me pull this one off and I will drag this back. So now we're going to go back and forth. So again, quite quickly, you can easily move that about. And yeah, so what did you want to help explain what happened here?
So there's a couple of tips here, right? Obviously, it's pretty cool. But if you could please open up, yes, that's what I wanted. Now, layer hygiene is very important with Auto Animate. I will just say that. If you are the type of person that has layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, layer 4, you might want to consider. Now, I'm not saying that all designers are like that.
No.
I used to be. Now my layer hygiene is very good because I love Auto Animate. So you can see here that there is a white polygon there, and it's named polygon 1, and it's a triangle effectively. We want to turn that into
hexagon.
A hexagon over here. So select that bad boy. When you select that hexagon, so go back and just select it, you'll see that it's also called polygon 1. Okay, if that name was different, this auto animation wouldn't work. In fact, it's a way that you can have it so that part doesn't auto animate.
That's right.
Anything that has the same name, if it's a vector outline or a vector artwork, it can be an image. It will, XD will do its best to actually auto animate that between the two, and that's for all elements on those two artboards. So we'll try every single element on that artboard. It will try and auto animate in between if it's got the same layer names.
It's really clever. I've seen it happen with you can do a whole morph from one icon to another as long as icon 1 and icon 2.
Well, let's go and show everyone. I know this is not in the script, right? Can we just go out of script for a second? Can you go up to File? Let's show everyone where they can get some examples.
Yes.
Into the
I
XD.
do have opened.
Yeah. Just go.
Got my community. What we have here. So this is basically Let's XD. Wonderful website. It's purposely built for this. In the resources aspects, you got the plugins and UI kit. So that clicks over and it will come into this aspects. So you do have a lot of the plugins we went through. It will sort of elaborate on what can happen there. App integration. So again, for larger orgs, everyone's on Jira and so forth nowadays. UI kits, and I think this is where you were going to. Is the auto animate in here?
Download it. It is. There is some super cool things in there. You can, encourage everyone to just go in and reverse engineer. Some of those auto animate sequences. Even graphs going between one graph and the next. You might and it actually moves. It's fantastic. Have a play with the timing, like Jason said. The easy and easy out. It's really, there's some really cool stuff in there. But even buttons as well. You might have a toggle switch that you want to be able to do. So jump in and have a go with those.
Little things like your close button turning into menu items, all that stuff is done in that. So really good, and hopefully a big time saver. So back over here, I might just quickly go in and show you a drag option. So how do we do from drag from one side to the next in prototype? So you can actually see here, if I go to this item, you can actually see that it's been set up already. Over on the far right, you got drag auto animate, right? So what that looks like is when you hover over, I can simply drag across that. So very simply made. The whole item itself is sort of, there is the whole flow. But yeah, it just drags across to the next.
So just to confirm, so how we did that was we just copy those artboards over with those elements, move them over on the artboard, and then auto animate. So I don't need to actually do any of the drag stuff. I just hit the auto animate stuff and away it goes.
Yeah. Really nice, and I think a nice simple.
It's pretty practical too, that one.
Definitely.
Hey, while you're here, can we have a little look at the one of the plugins that we discussed earlier about?
Of course.
Just
on Spark.
Yes, Stark. So this so Stark in the middle there. This one here. Can you zoom in on that just so people can see it? We've gone and bought the pro version of this. We think this is a great plugin. So shout out to the people that have created this.
Yeah.
This is for colorblind simulation. Now, I want to show everyone a lot of our companies that we're talking to are really trying to design responsibly around, sort of open standards around what people can see and what people can't. I have to say, this has blown me away. Okay, so, we take for granted every day that we can just see the colors we can see.
Yeah.
And a shout out to anyone out there that has some sort of color blindness. I apologize if I've designed something for you in the past and haven't considered this, because this is amazing, right? So let's go in and run a test here on that color blindness.
Go down.
So it has a lot of the different types there, right?
That's right. Yeah, it has a few words that I would not be able to pronounce properly, but
I was just waiting for you to have a go.
So you can actually see here. So we have picked up one for the. Yep.
That type of color blindness.
And you can see what options. So I can easily, cycle through and just see different aspects and what will affect and what doesn't. Because there are certain colors which definitely highlight. Yeah. I think you mentioned them before. The
pink and grey.
Pink and grey.
Yeah, pink and grey are basically the same for some of these. So I'd encourage everyone, especially if you are describing things as in, hit the orange button. It may not look orange to everybody. Right?
Yes, so good point.
So it's a great plugin. There is a free element to it, as well as a paid version. But yeah, shout out to the developers. It's fantastic. That also gives you the element here to be able to see whether it's compliant.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I know a lot of people try to design with the less is more sort of functionality. But you can actually see here that it's not compliant.
Yeah, so it gives you a very basic tick and a cross there, whether it's compliant or not. Now you can design very quickly around this standard and be able to get a visual indicator as to whether this is compliant or not. So, being able to get the text at the right size to be compliant is pretty important. So anyway, I just thought I'd do a shout out for that plugin. I think it's fantastic, and I wish it was around back in the day when I was out there in the real world doing real work for government agencies, right? Anyone that's doing any sort of government work or for our larger organisations. So this is an important part.
Okay, so excuse me. Next, I just wanted to show. I'm going to show the example before we actually move in and show how it was done. This is for the timed animations. So you can see here, what I like about this is that, you can build out anything and actually, do almost a walkthrough of a website.
Yeah.
Whether it's instructional or whether it's, it's just showing how people, the main elements of that website, you can actually build this quite simply.
So, I see a lot of these in apps now or games where when you launch it for the first time, you get a video, walks you through all of the different elements on the page. And if you're doing user testing, probably a nice way to introduce the users that you're testing with to elements if you wanted to prompt them in advance, or test, A/B test between people that do have the intro video versus that don't.
Yeah, so what they've done is basically they've just kept the naming consistent throughout as well. So go back to your point, as long as you're layering, the layer hygiene is the same. And this is where the duplication of the artboard is quite important. So, what we have here, it can go down to this one. So I can actually say, me see if I duplicate this artboard. Let's see if I can build this one out. Okay, it's my artboard at the bottom.
Because you're prototype.
Yeah. Okay, let me move back up. I will place this in a spot where it would not, so we can all see where I'm working. So after this one, I am going to have, so what we have here when we're back in prototype mode, so we can easily move this over here. I want to maybe possibly move this icon. Oops. Okay, I'm all thumbs today. Okay, let me see. Try to move this over here. I'm gonna move my object, and I will resize that. So you have the double click option here, and you can see myself is
Forge ahead, mate.
Forge ahead.
Forge ahead.
All right, let's move on. Okay, so if we wanted to, we would easily have this as a time animation. It will come through as opposed to going through this one. I want to have it come here, and then I want to make sure this animation comes across as opposed to loop back. Timed animation, auto animate, it will move, and you're going to see my bad design after so many times it will move across. So naturally I would be able to click it, but I suppose we have so many people watching me and I will be all thumbs all of a sudden.
That's no problem.
So we're going to jump back on and touch on some of the newer aspects that have come through as well, and then quickly jump back and show some of that collaboration and then design systems. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, let's get into it, hey?
Yeah. Okay. So here, collaboration. So again, we mentioned here, and I can quickly show this later on, how easy it is to share for collaborators and how easy it is to share for our developer friends. You can sort of see here, cloud-based documents. This has been released now, which is great. How we can design together. So this is something that's coming through very soon. And we also have different options around document version.
So just while you're on cloud-based documents, I think it's important to note that we're also talking about design systems. If you have a design system that is living in the cloud, people can come in and create a new document and just import that entire design system. Do you reckon we can show that?
Yes.
And then on top of that, with cloud documents, you may want to control the people that can edit that cloud document or that master cloud document. So I think that's also important to show as well when we get to it.
Wonderful. After that, so this is sort of almost what you're touching on, how we can actually easily reuse a design system, how you can open it up into a new document. So that is really good, and it's really quick and easy to actually show how that actually works.
Yep.
So, everything from colors, styles, components, and how we can copy an asset across and still link it to the master document. So that's something we'll jump straight back into. So let me exit, and then I will move over to XD. So I think Jamie mentioned before, if I was going to create a new document, now a friend of ours has created another document with a sticker sheet in that. And that document itself looks something like, show you my design system here. So it has all the major elements on this, right? I have already saved this one on the cloud. This is a local version, but I will show you how to pull in.
And we know it's got all those elements because if we go down the left-hand side, if you flick back to that document, it's got all of the colors. They've all been named correctly, importantly. So some, it's not just color 1, color 2. By default, by the way, it's the hex color, right? But, I haven't memorized every single hex color. So it's nice to have those common names in there, as well as character styles for different things. as well as the all of the components as well that we've created for this sticker sheet.
Yeah, that's correct. So here I have saved this before on the cloud. Now with my new document, as you can see here, you have the big button, linked assets. So we'll go to that. It's going to reflect back onto my cloud document.
So important up the top there, it says cloud documents and shared with you. So you might have a customer that shared a document with you and your team.
That's right.
And they've said, we want you to use this sticker sheet or this design system to be able to go from there. So yeah, if you go back to cloud documents, it can be something that's within your organization or something from external as well.
Yeah. And you can actually see here already my cloud document, Untitled 1, just so I can remember it later, has already surfaced here. So this one is the one here, and straight away on the right side, you can actually, left side, I'm looking at something else. You can actually see they all come across straight away, which is really great. And every element I have is available. I can pull this in and change that. And it's important to notice it has the link symbol.
Yeah, let's zoom in on that. I think that's really important. Let's zoom in on that little link symbol, both in the components library and on the desktop there, on the pasteboard. Look, it's indicating that it's linked from somewhere else, right?
That's right.
From another document. Can you right-click on that for me? And let's go and have a look at how we edit that master.
So right away, we right-click, reveal component in assets, edit master in source document. So this is where it's going to actually open up the original. So again, you have the single source of truth you can use throughout, and that's where it will come in. And then you can actually, if I go Command 3 is a nice shortcut that will zoom in on the selection that you've got.
Correct.
So
very
now,
important one. If you've got a huge document that you're building, working on, and you do that, Command 3 is probably one of the main ones that I use all the time.
Yeah, so again, all the Command 0s, all that stuff is all the same.
Yeah.
Command 3 is something good when you do have a document. So here we have this. Let's go in and I think we can maybe change the color, just so something that we can all see. Change on both sides. So this has been updated. This actually
looks amazing.
element
Looks amazing, mate.
Reveal component. You can actually see the component here. It has also gone to that wonderful new color. And as we go back, so our friend here has changed color.
So the workflow here could be, you might have a number of people working on the sticker sheet, updating that design system, but it doesn't slow you down. You can continue to work on whatever the document is you're working on, and as things get updated, you can either choose to accept those changes, which is what you can do here, or not, but you get this preview, right?
That's right, yeah. So you can hover over and it will show you whether you want to accept that new change.
And it gives you the time. Importantly, we can see whether people, so just go and hover over that little and zoom in on it. It actually tells you when that's been updated. I think this is also important. Having worked in design studios before, it was changed at 2 a.m. in the morning, 3 days ago. It might be something that needs review. So, or you can update them all with the big button down the bottom right.
Yeah, that's right. So, so if you do have multiple instances, you would or hit them all at once, depending on what you want. So, otherwise, the other option is you can always unlink the component, and then you can have a new component. So you can make a different option depending on what works for you in that workflow. Yeah.
So it actually completely unlinks it out of that that element. Okay, awesome.
So another way that we can always do too, and I think we've touched on this before, is we can, if I go back to Zoom, you can easily copy. I know we've already copied these over, but you can copy over a master component. So if I go open up my master component, I can copy this and I can paste this into a new document as well. So it will work the same as when we added in the linked assets before, but you can also copy and paste. So if you have one major document And
it's
then,
meant to be as simple as possible, right?
That's right.
So, when the team was building this out, there was lots of talk around different ways of importing with menus and all sorts of different things. Really, in my world, the easiest way to do things is to copy and paste. Grab an element or a group of elements, copy them and paste them where I want to go. I can duplicate them and edit them locally if I need to.
Yeah.
But I still want the link between the documents to be there. Now, if you're working in a file share environment and you're not using the cloud documents, you will need to have direct access to that original. Okay, so that's worth pointing out as well.
Yeah.
If you don't have access to that original document, if it's not a cloud document, then you might be in a bit of strife. So,
yeah, great point. So if we have our wonderful design system up and working and running, and all the guides around it and all the components are working, and we're all happy how it reflects downwards, we would obviously share off that document. So that will be the next part I will jump into. So if I have this here, so if I have clicked this, you can actually see here, this is the home button. So this is also important to note. When you've got so many artboards, it's gonna, when I
can you show everyone, just change that home button to a different one.
So we can go
You can only have one home button.
Yeah.
So it's where you want to start your customer journey, right?
That's right.
So when you're sharing this online, you make sure that you have selected that home button. So the tips are here: be in prototype, zoom in on that area. So if we go back to the first artboard there, up in the top left-hand corner, you can see that one's grayed out. You just tap it.
Yeah.
When it's blue, that's where your customer journey is going to start.
Yeah.
Okay.
So good tip. It does catch people out occasionally. So always remember where your home button starts.
Yeah.
So if I go over to the far right, I hit my share button. So invite to edit, that's when you have that cloud document. I can invite other people to it. So if you have your master document, that can work.
It's also that little round button with the person
That's
icon
right,
and
yeah.
the plus button, yeah.
And it will come through whatever little
invite to edit.
headshot you may
So
have.
Jason could invite me to edit, and then we'd both be working on the same document simultaneously, right?
Next, share for review. So share for review is when we're handing this off to customers, clients, other people. Now you do have different options around this, so which is very good, depending on how you work and what your work environment looks like. So only invited people can view, which is really good, or anyone with the link. I can always add a password, so depending if you just wanted certain people to look at it.
And can I just clarify here? This isn't super secret squirrel stuff. This is just you adding a password so that you can share it with your customers for viewing your prototype.
Yep.
Right. This is, it's not something that's going to stand the test of any sort of spy agencies. It's just you adding your own password and sharing it with them. Okay. I've just got a question here while you set up for. Did you want to update your link just while we're watching the little blue circle go?
Yeah, I can hit update. So you can see here, I've already done this as an option before. I can have the comments and the hotspots showing up, and navigation controls. I can create a new link or update the existing one. So if you don't want V1, V2, V3, you can just update.
Yeah.
So this one here, I've already done it, and then I can copy it, and I can also embed a prototype. So you can actually embed it into a website, and if you do update, it will reflect back on your embedded code.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, you might have a Spark page, you want to put a little embed in there and keep everyone up to date as well. So while that's doing, we've got a question here around can I expect in the near future Adobe XD having timeline editing option for interactions? Now,
Good question.
Great question. If you go on to Adobe User Voice, all right, while that little thing's updating, Jason might be able to bring it up. It is probably one of the most asked for features the last time I went in and checked. I would encourage you to go on. You just need an Adobe ID login and vote it up. Absolutely. Look, I know the team has been working on this for quite some time. doing it right is probably the most important thing. I know the team members that are working on it. They're agonising over doing it properly. So absolutely yes. If you've got some feedback for our product team, or you'd like to be contacted around this, or you've got some ideas, please. I mean, you can contact us, or you can tweet Andrew Shorten, directly, which you can get to his page via Let's XD page in there. If you go on User Voice and upvote this, and you put your comments in there and allow the product team to contact you directly, a lot of the time they do contact you directly. So, and
I'll jump over to
important
the
to put your time.
page.
So yes, for the Australian and New Zealand people out there, the time zones are a little bit different. So you might want to put in there what country you live in, so you don't get contacted in the middle of the night. So yeah,
they're all very.
And a big
accessible.
shout out to everyone as well, of course, in New Zealand.
Yeah, absolutely. So full options. This one I've already preloaded here, so you can actually see I can have the same interactions that I've done again with it. Excuse me. So even the drag options are available here. You can see I've already made a comment for myself, and I have pinned this to the board, make logos bigger, so I can reply here. They don't need the software to actually do this.
Yep.
It is, like you said, it's web-based, it's a browser link. They can easily comment and feedback. You can pin it to certain people, if I wanted to, I can put in your thing, make sure that it highlights towards yourself. It will come up in your feedback options, so you'll get notified.
Yeah, in your Creative Cloud app. Yep.
Which is super helpful, and then you can actually...
It's great when we're doing team activity, isn't it? Like when we're working on presentations, we can go in and help each other with designs and stuff, and it just pops up in the Creative Cloud app. Right. It really works well.
The other option here with the share is the share for development.
Yes.
As well. So
we love our developers.
We do.
Hi everyone. Hi developers. We do love you. I'd encourage developers to go and have a look at this, right? If they go and have a look at the way that the team has worked on this developer portal. The idea here is that you don't just get a whole heap of stuff. No. You actually get the designer's intent is transferred over as well.
Absolutely. Again, avoiding the whispers between what it was supposed to do and what it is doing and it's not doing. Here there are some also wonderful options available. I think there's some good ones that will push out HTML, various different code aspects.
In the plugins, right?
In the plugins, yeah. A good thing here is when you do share this off, and this is just a recent update too. Now, if you have export for web, it will also give you some CSS.
Yeah.
So, which is really good.
Yeah. The other thing is as well, you'll see if you can just zoom in on that a little bit, that if you have marked things for export, it will do that as part of that process as well.
That's
so
right.
when the developer gets in there, they'll be able to go in and download all of those assets directly from that portal. And then the assets that you want them to download, and not just going and do screen grabs of, they're actually downloading the assets at the right resolution for the device it's being outputted for.
That's right.
So worth noting that when you're designing, you might want to mark something for export. It's down here when you're in design mode. Okay, so
good point. Yeah. Awesome. So again, you're basically going to share off a link for your developer friends. It will come through again like this. You can see two different aspects here. So you still have the comments, so you can actually give a clear indication of what you expect, as well as the specs. So here we can get everything from if there's an asset involved, colors, fonts, interactions, and then if we go in, you can see you get padding, CSS, every aspect around that. So
and the content as well. So if you just click on that content, it'll actually copy it. So if you've got a whole heap of text that's been edited, and even in the workflow that we discussed before, the developer can actually copy that.
Yeah.
So I think that's us, mate.
It is.
We're winding up. Look, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. We really appreciate it. We are around the traps. We're in every city in Australia pretty regularly. Look us up. you're welcome to contact either Jason or myself anytime if you want us to come and see how you guys are working or using XD, or you've got a small project that you'd like to get started on, or a big project. We'd love to come and see your workflows. I think Jason's in New Zealand probably once a quarter, and I think I'm over there this month. So reach out to us if you want us to come and see you guys. We'd love to come and see how you guys work and maybe give you guys some help getting started with XD.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's been really fun. Again, always one of our favourite tools to talk about. Definitely, or they refer to it more as a platform. I think, and it's exciting time for UX.
Yes, it is an exciting time, and keep an eye out in November around the max time frame for any updates. And if you can get online, and do that. So thanks very much, everyone. Appreciate everyone being online.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.